Good evening, everybody. Brian Newbert here from GoldandBlack.com, live in Mackey Arena, following Purdue's 85-57 Big Ten win over Minnesota. Please ignore the going-ons behind me, just some Christmas spirit being spread. This is your GoldandBlack.com wrap video. Thank you to the Purdue Club Hotel for your support. It is much appreciated. This will be short. I know I have said this many times before, and I have been mistaken, but normally I take notes to guide me on my talking points. I don't have a pen for a couple of reasons. One, the pens I buy suck, and two, when it comes to doing my job, which requires a good deal of writing things down, so do I. So I do not have talking points here other than what I just typed into my phone notes app here. This was kind of the response you wanted to see, right? Purdue took Saturday's Iowa State game and flipped it. Just like that, it flipped it. Because it was the same thing. Minnesota was kind of sticking to Purdue through the first half, the way Purdue was kind of sticking to Iowa State in the first half. And then whereas Iowa State blew Purdue out in the second half, Purdue did the same thing to Minnesota and then some in the second half. The two things are not equal. Iowa State's a top 10 team. Minnesota is probably going to be one of the bottom 2 or 3 teams in the Big Ten this year. I'm not saying that to diminish what Purdue just did. I'm just getting out in front of people on YouTube or whatever saying, yeah, we'll do it against so-and-so. But it is kind of funny how this was kind of sort of a very similar game, just the outcome was flipped. Just like that, flipped. I think that, Purdue this is the response you wanted to see after halftime from Purdue after Minnesota closed the first half on a pretty modest run, but enough of a run to get within 3 points at halftime. It's kind of the response I was expecting in the second half against Iowa State. What's done is done. But, classic Purdue is you come out of halftime in your home building and you just take over sometimes. And you don't just throw the first punch, you swing a haymaker and you take a guy's head off. Try to make this as graphic as possible. And that's kind of precisely what Purdue did. After halftime, Purdue was brilliant on offense. It was brilliant on defense. It did everything right. And it stopped Minnesota. It got rebounds. It just dominated. I can't remember what the run was. If I had written it down, it was something along the lines of 20-something to 2, I think, to start the second half. But Purdue got up by as many as 32. The whole second half was a run. So let's just take the run part out of it and say Purdue outscored Minnesota by 25 in the second half. That constitutes a run. So Purdue was very good in the second half, damn near perfect in the second half. And it's precisely the sort of competitive response you wanted to see from Purdue when it was pushed, the way Minnesota pushed it in those last 5-6 minutes of the first half. 6 minutes specifically. I think it was I don't know what the run was, but Purdue was up 12. Minnesota cut 9 off the lead, so that. But either way, Minnesota had some momentum, and Purdue flipped it like that. I think this was a game that, spoke to, the elite competitive demeanor of Braden Smith. I think people look at him, rightfully so, as a great shooter, a great scorer, an elite passer, a savant of a passer. But this game was about the competitive edge. This is what you expect players of the year types to do in situations like the one Purdue was in. Not just in the second half, but coming off the loss Saturday to Iowa State. He was all over the place defensively. I will have to go and actually crunch these numbers, but of his 5 steals and the one other one, at least one other one he created, Purdue got double-digit scoring off the turnovers he created. Now, it wasn't always direct. There was that block shot that led to the 30-second shot clock violation. That won't count as a steal. but that was a turnover he created. There was another one, I don't know who got credited with the steal, but Smith knocked it away from somebody. A teammate corralled it. It should have been Smith's steal, but sometimes whoever actually secures the basketball is the person who gets credit for the steal. But the 5 steals say a lot. Purdue got only 8 points off turnovers. That seems low, but I'm pretty sure Braden Smith accounted for how many turnovers Minnesota have. Minnesota had 9 turnovers, and Braden Smith probably accounted for 6 or 7 of them. So he was constantly disruptive. He was really the singular competitive force in this game, and I think he made a huge difference for Purdue in more ways than one. And that's precisely what you expect from the best player in the country, who's a senior, who's played 1,000 games in this building, and whose team needed him in this particular moment. So I think Braden Smith deserves a lot of credit for this. Not that he necessarily needs credit for a lot of things. He's done so much in his college career. But this win against Minnesota here during his senior year, I think his fingerprints are all over it. He was the singular guiding force kind of in this game, among many for Purdue. A big part of it is, I've talked a lot about the battle of attrition factor that I think Purdue can weaponize this year, and Nico Medved himself said it repeatedly in his post-game press conferences now that Purdue wore them down. Purdue wore Minnesota down. Again, you don't beat your chest over doing this to a team as limited as Minnesota, but, Purdue doubled them up on the boards. 14 offensive rebounds to 5 offensive rebounds. And you just look at the way the second half went. One team looked like it had its legs. The other team looked completely gassed. And I think that's, part of what Purdue can do to people with its depth, but also the physicality that they get from Oscar Clough, Trey Kaufman-Wren, and Daniel Jacobson. And I think it showed up in this game big time. And that's something, Purdue, especially against teams it's markedly better than, I think that's something that's going to be a constant for Purdue, something that you're going to see on a regular basis, is Purdue's going to be positioned to close games better than the opponent because it takes a physical toll on them. It gets them in foul trouble. How many Minnesota players fouled out of this game? Let's find that out, because that's an important question to ask. So Isaac Azuma fouled out, as did Bobby Durkin. So that's 2 Minnesota players. Wait, no, that's points. My bad. So personal fouls. So that's Isaac Azuma and then Grayson Grove. Great name, Grayson Grove. So Purdue fouled a couple of their guys out. The fouls went pretty decidedly in Purdue's favor. Purdue got to the foul line. Minnesota's very good at getting to the foul line. They only shot 15 free throws, which is well under their average. So I thought Purdue did a pretty good job defensively. I know Minnesota had 4 and-1s in the first half, but Minnesota tries to get to the rim at every opportunity possible. Minnesota tries to get to the foul line at every opportunity possible, and Purdue basically turned them into a one-dimensional three-point shooting team, and they're not a great three-point shooting team. And the three-pointers they were taking, weren't the sorts of shots that was going to beat Purdue on this night. So I thought Purdue did a good job being detailed, did a good job for the most part. Obviously, there were some imperfections here and there, but I thought Purdue did a great job being disruptive, knocking Minnesota out of what it wanted to do here and there, but also protecting the rim. Because for those 4 and-1s, Minnesota would have preferred to have like 10 of them. So I think you can probably live with it when you give up 4 buckets at the rim to a team that wants, 3 times that many. So I thought Purdue did a good job defensively. I thought Purdue did a great job on the glass. In the second half, I thought Purdue did a great job offensively. Braden Smith did hurt his hand at one point. I remember the play. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but he fell. Somebody got fouled, and he fell on his hand and came up kind of doing this. He did not come to the post-game press conference, not because we didn't ask for him, because he was obviously awesome in this game, but because he had to go see somebody about his hand, a medical professional, I would imagine. So we'll kind of ask about that later in the week before Marquette, if the opportunity presents itself. But doesn't seem like a huge deal. Came back and played well. But obviously something Purdue will monitor closely here moving forward. So that's what I got. Purdue's 2-0 in the Big Ten. The rare occasion of Purdue being 2-0 in the Big Ten. Surprisingly, this is only like the 7th or 8th time Purdue's done it under Matt Painter, which is in large part due to that Big Ten road opener that they've lost so many times over the years, which is why the Rutgers game was so important. But Purdue is now 2-0 in the Big Ten. These were not their marquee games of the Big Ten season. TV does not allow for that sort of thing this time of year. So Purdue's won the games that were out in front of it on the Big Ten schedule, and nobody should have expected anything other than a 2-0 Big Ten start from this team. So mission accomplished, I guess. So that's what I got here from Mackey Arena in West Lafayette, Indiana. I was going to say after the Iowa State game, the sun will come up tomorrow, but then it dawned on me that the sun does not exist this time of year in West Lafayette, Indiana. So it was not permanent night, we'll put it that way. Purdue wins 85-57. This was your GoldandBlack.com rap video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for reading. Thank you for listening. Thank you for processing our materials, no matter how unshaven those materials might be. And thank you once again to the Purdue Union Club Hotel for your support, as always. We appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys again on Saturday after Purdue plays Marquette. So, thanks, everybody.